Corporate Retreat is marketed as a horror comedy. Just so you guys know. Corporate Retreat stars Alan Ruck, Odeya Rush, Rosanna Arquette, and is directed by Aaron Fisher.
Or spiritually. I'm so excited!
What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2026 review. Today we're going to review a movie that I knew absolutely nothing about. I did see a trailer for this a while back, and I had to kind of jog my memory. Shout out to my buddy Dan. I was going to go see Passenger today, but then Dan was like, "Are you going to go see Corporate Retreat?" And I was like, "What's that?" And I looked at the trailer and I was like, "Oh yeah, I think I do remember." By the way, there's so many freaking horror movies coming out this year, and it's hard to keep up with all of them. But I'm trying, and I'm definitely gonna go this weekend and see Passenger and get a review out for you. I'm definitely seeing the Mandalorian and Grogu. I've seen that with DELILAH actually on Saturday, so I'll get a review out for that. So a lot of content coming on the main channel. And also check out Drumdums Xtra. I just dropped like 4 reviews, detailed reviews for the first 4 episodes of The Incredible Hulk, my favorite TV show when I was a kid. So definitely check that out. I'll put a card for one of those right here. But this movie, holy shit. This movie is freaking insane. And I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off right now. This is a torture porn movie. That's what this is. And I had no idea that it was that. And the funny thing about it is, I think it starts off kind of lighthearted and feeling like a horror comedy with a little bit of violence sprinkled in. And, you know, usually, like almost 95% of the time, within the first like 15 minutes of any horror movie, they kind of set the tone for how violent it's going to be, how funny it's going to be, if it's a horror comedy, or maybe it's very serious, like say Evil Dead, 2013. You knew exactly what type of movie that was going to be within 15 minutes, and it stayed the course in that tone. This one, no, if you watched only the first 15 minutes of the movie, you would guess that that's going to stay the course for that type of movie, but then it turns into something much more extreme, okay? And real quickly, too, I was going to go see Passenger. My wife does not like anything that feels like it could be like demonic or something like that. I showed her for the trailer for that, and she was like, "No, I don't want to see that. That looks demonic." And so I was like, "Oh, look at this, Corporate Retreat." And she saw the trailer for Corporate Retreat, and she's like, "Yeah, that looks fun. Let's go see that." My wife had a work call when we got there that she forgot about. So she actually did like a Zoom meeting on her phone, and she sat out in the car while I watched Corporate Retreat for a good hour and 15 minutes. So that's how much of the movie she missed. And once this movie started ramping up into what it really was, I was thanking Jesus that my wife did not sit and watch, because this was definitely not her cup of tea. Okay, she's not into like torture porn type stuff, and it just would have been awkward for her. I wouldn't want to put her through that. So I guess that kind of worked out in our favor. But she did miss pretty much like 85% of the movie. But before I get into the nuts and bolts of what this movie's about, let's give you a quick plot synopsis. Corporate Retreat is about this group. They all work at this company. And basically, you got Alan Ruck. He was I don't know if he was the CEO or he's just, one of the boss, I guess. And he was pushed out. And so this really at its core is like a revenge type story, but he wants to not just take them out. He wants to freaking torture them, and maybe there's something learned from the whole thing. In his mind, this guy's freaking psycho. He's absolutely insane, crazy. And really this movie feels like Saw. And at first I thought this is like Saw light, but then the violence starts really kicking in. And then I'm like, oh, okay, no, this is definitely like, it's at that level, but Saw's just so much better. And I'll get into the reasons why Saw is so much better once I get into the pros and cons of the movie. So as far as pros for this movie, I can't I don't really have any. It's just a horrible movie. If I slowly rip the Band-Aid off, I can tell you the acting is nothing to write home about. All these characters feel pretty superficial, pretty stock, and their acting's not really helping them any. And not to just blame the actors, but also I think the dialogue is really kind of surface level. This ain't Quentin Tarantino dialogue, okay? And again, you just don't have the acting to back it up. So really, I didn't really remember a bit of dialogue in this entire movie. There was no like lines that would really like stay in your head when you leave the movie. No, this ain't Pulp Fiction, okay? You could also compare this a little bit to like the Belko Experiment because, they're in that movie, it's an office environment. So you could call this like workplace horror, even though they're on like a corporate retreat. Initially, all these characters are thinking they're going there for like a fun time. Little do they know, they're going there for a bloodbath. And on paper, me talking about this movie sounds like it could be right up your alley, right? You're like, oh, wait, there's a lot of blood in the movie and a lot of kills. And there are a lot of kills, and you might dig that. But let me tell you right now, this movie is for a very specific audience, okay? If you just like to sit back and watch torture porn for an extended length of time where not just one character, but say, let's just give you an example. 5 characters in a row have to do the exact same thing over and over and over again, and you got to watch it, not pulling away. That's what this is. There's no like elevation of the story, it feels like, though. It's just, you have this challenge, and we got to spend a good 20 minutes on that, watching, 5 different people get tortured. And then we got this challenge. And then you got to do the same thing. You got to spend 20 minutes on that and watch, 5, 4, 6 people get tortured. I don't want to give away what the challenges are for those that still are interested in going to see that. I think, I think you would want to go into this not knowing. But I'll tell you what, I'll give you like a hypothetical that's not actually in the movie, just to kind of set the tone for what this could be, okay? Imagine a challenge, and again, this is not in the movie, but all the challenges are kind of in this ballpark. Imagine a challenge where you tell everybody you have to cut your own tongue out, okay? I think that should give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. First contestant, we're going to watch them cut their tongue out, and we're going to keep the camera on them and watch them go through the whole ordeal for however long it takes. Let's say, it's probably going to be like, half a minute. And then let's go to the next person and the next person and the next person. So you got to watch 4 different people cut their own tongue out over and over and over and over again. That's what this movie feels like. And just imagine that's just one of the challenges. And then the next challenge, they got to freaking remove their kneecap from their knee. Again, that's not in the movie, but you're still in the same ballpark, okay? If you watch the trailer, they probably show what some of these challenges are. I just don't want to give that away for you guys because really that's all this movie has to offer. And if you're not into sitting there watching somebody, torture themselves in front of the guy that's giving the orders, it wasn't fun for me. I could feel the audience just kind of like wincing the whole time. It takes a lot for me to wince when I'm watching a horror movie. I can usually take anything, but I do like a certain cadence in a movie, in a story. I like the story to build, and I really like to root for the characters, and you're not really rooting for any of the characters in this movie. You're just waiting for them to die. That's what you're doing. In a normal slasher movie, that's fun. That's great. The kills are creative. But, they do it and then they move on. This movie, they do it and then they do it and then they do it and then they do it again. The same thing over and over and over. You see what I'm saying? So after a while, that gets old, it gets tiresome, and it's just not fun. I think this could have been a short, honestly, with just doing maybe one of the torture ordeals at a time. It could have been a short, but I think it feels like it's just kind of stretched out. It's also very predictable. There's a scene at the beginning of the movie where an object is discovered and placed, and then you just know, oh, that's going to come back into play in the last act, and sure enough, it does. Okay, so you get predictability, you get bad acting, you get repeated torture over and over. It's bloody. It gets really bloody for sure. I didn't expect this movie to be good at all. And if anything, it's very surprising. I didn't know what I was walking into, but I couldn't wait to walk out. Okay, I didn't walk out of the movie before it ended. I stayed until the end, you know, because I'm a reviewer and I want to do my job. But it was tough, you know. It was very, very. It's like art imitating life. It was torture watching people get tortured over and over, and they're all kind of dressed like almost like camp counselors, which is sort of like a juxtaposition there, you know. On the surface, this movie feels like it could be lighthearted, but then it turns into something completely different. So yeah, guys, Jesus, I'm gonna give this a looped in hell because that's what this movie feels like. It feels like torture. And if I was in hell and they put this movie on, it would be the perfect movie to torture somebody, to watch. It's just really that bad. Wow. And it's strange, you know, giving it that rating because I kind of respect this movie, at least for the director trying to go, let's go extreme, right? Let's go as crazy as we can instead of just being boring, because I wouldn't classify this as boring. It's just torture. I'm sure there's going to be a few of you freaking knuckleheads in the comments that are going to be like, I think I want to see this, you know? And if you do, let me know what you think down in the comments. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Wow. I could be one of the very few reviewing this movie because I have seen like really no buzz about it whatsoever. Didn't even know about it until my buddy Dan, who knows about every freaking movie coming out, told me. But it was playing at my AMC theater, so yeah. But if you want to see it, it'll probably be gone in like 2 weeks, all right? So, if you do see it, let me know what you guys think about Corporate Retreat down in the comments. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Clicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free for All Fridays. Follow my Drumdums on my social support me on Patreon. Become a channel member, buy me coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, and Drumdum out.